The night sky above Earth was quiet, but inside the massive deep space array in Chile, alarms suddenly began to ring. A signal, faint yet steady, had just been detected far beyond the edge of the Milky Way. At first, the technicians thought it was a glitch. No one expected a real transmission from that distance. The stars out there were dead, empty, silent for millions of years. And yet, the signal kept repeating, clear and structured, like a heartbeat across the void. Dr. Eliana Cross, the chief scientist on duty, stared at the data scrolling across the screen. She whispered, "This is not natural. This is intentional." The message contained a repeating pulse of numbers and patterns that could not come from stars or black holes. It was a call for help, a distress beacon. But the strangest part was its age. The system showed it had been traveling through space for millions of years. Whoever sent it should have been long gone. Within hours, governments around the world were informed. A secret emergency council was formed, pulling in generals, presidents, scientists, and strategists. The chamber was silent as the data played on a huge screen. Every leader saw the same thing, a distress signal old yet unbroken, waiting for an answer. Some argued for caution. General Harris of the United States slammed his fist on the table. This could be a trap. The signal might be bait. We respond, and someone out there finds our home. Others disagreed. Professor Mei Ling from China leaned forward, eyes bright. It is more than a beacon. It contains star maps, coordinates someone wanted us to follow. If we ignore this, we may be throwing away knowledge beyond imagination. The debate grew heated. Should humanity answer? Or should they stay silent, hidden in the vast dark? The world had only just built fragile peace after decades of conflict. A decision like this could change everything. What no one on Earth knew was that far beyond their sight, an alien council was already watching. In a colossal chamber orbiting a dying star, the High Council of Zaith reviewed reports from their observers. Their skin shifted colors with emotion, their tendrils coiled in unease. One of them hissed, "The humans have found it." Another replied, "They were never meant to." The signal was a warning, not an invitation. The chamber filled with anxious voices. Some feared humanity's curiosity. Others believed the primitive species would do nothing. But then a messenger entered, bowing deeply. "They are debating. If they answer, the galaxy will change." The council fell into heavy silence. Old records spoke of ancient wars, of powers that once threatened all life. The beacon had been left behind as a grave marker. It was never meant to be heard by young civilizations. Humanity was not supposed to know. Back on Earth, the final vote came down to a handful of voices. Dr. Eliana Cross stood before the leaders, her hands trembling, yet her voice steady. For all of history, humanity has looked to the stars and wondered if we were alone. Now the universe has spoken. If we turn away, we betray everything we are. The room quieted, heads bowed. And then the decision was made. Humanity would answer. A massive antenna array was aimed at the sky. Engineers coded the reply, embedding Earth's position, language, and intent. Soldiers stood at the ready, though they did not know what they were ready for. The world held its breath. As the transmission left Earth, a golden beam of energy cutting into the heavens, people across the globe felt a strange mix of pride and fear. They had reached into the void. They had spoken to whatever was out there. In the alien council chamber, the reaction was immediate. The moment Earth's reply was detected, the councillors' faces shifted to horror. One slammed its claws into the table. "Fools! They do not understand what they have awakened." Another voice, low and filled with dread, whispered, "They have answered the call. Now the galaxy will regret it." The screen in front of them flickered, showing Earth's blue oceans and green lands, the home of the species that had just stepped into forbidden history. The chamber shook with panic. Some demanded immediate destruction of the planet. Others argued it was already too late. Above Earth, the night sky remained calm. But within days, new objects began to stir at the edges of the galaxy. Silent watchers who had slept for ages were beginning to move. Something ancient had turned its gaze back toward humanity. and Earth, proud and defiant, had no idea what was coming. The story of how the galaxy would come to fear humanity had just begun. The final scene shows the Alien Council's leader leaning forward, eyes burning with terror. They have spoken. Now the chains of the past will break. The humans will bring war. The reply from Earth had already been sent. Across the planet, ordinary people went back to their lives, unaware of the storm that was now racing toward them. But within the halls of power, silence had turned to panic. Governments met in secret, generals whispered behind closed doors, and scientists stayed awake for nights without rest. The alien signal had been real, and Earth had answered. General Harris walked into the United Nations underground chamber, his boots echoing across the steel floor. Around him sat the leaders of every major nation. Their faces were pale, their voices heavy. "We cannot wait," Harris said firmly. "If we answer, they will come. And when they come, they will not arrive with open arms. They will come with fleets." At first, many dismissed his warning. Humanity had no proof of hostile intent. But then reports began to arrive. Strange energy signatures detected at the edge of the solar system. Faint traces of movement among the stars near Neptune. Something or someone was watching. The decision was made. For the first time in history, Earth would unite not for war against each other, but for survival against the unknown. A project was authorized in total secrecy. Humanity would build a fleet. Not small ships, not fragile probes, but giant warships that could fight in the cold dark of space. Factories roared to life. Shipyards once used for oil tankers and carriers were turned into orbital docks. Entire industries were rebuilt overnight. Nations that had once sworn to never share secrets now traded designs and resources like lifeblood. Engineers drafted blueprints of vessels larger than skyscrapers, bristling with weapons and armor. The first prototype was called Valkyrie 1. Rising from the oceans on thunderous rockets, it reached orbit piece by piece. From Earth's surface, people stared in awe at the sight of something so massive drifting across the night sky. It carried railguns capable of tearing through asteroids, missile batteries that could blind the stars, and armor that no weapon on Earth could pierce. Soldiers were chosen from every country. Not volunteers, but the best of the best. They trained in secret facilities, learning how to fight not just as warriors, but as guardians of the entire human race. They learned zero-gravity combat, starship boarding tactics, and survival in the vacuum of space. Their oath was simple: we fight for Earth. Meanwhile, deep in space, the Alien Council received reports of this sudden explosion of human activity. Holographic displays flickered with images of massive frames being assembled in orbit. Their advisors warned that humanity's progress was unnatural, far faster than expected. One counselor growled, "How are they building so much so quickly? They are young. They should be weak." Another answered coldly, "They are human. Their strength lies not in patience, but in desperation. They adapt, they rush, and when they decide to fight, they stop at nothing." Still, the Council believed Earth's efforts were futile. Against the vast fleets of the galaxy, no human ship could stand. Yet unease spread among them. Humanity was not reacting like prey. Humanity was preparing to strike like a predator. Back on Earth, strange rumors began to spread among civilians. Workers whispered of a ship so large it could cast shadows over entire cities. Pilots spoke of engines that burned brighter than suns. No one outside the project knew the truth, but everyone could feel it. Earth was changing. At dawn, the first warship fully completed its orbit. Named the Resolute, it was more fortress than vessel, its hull a mountain of steel drifting above the clouds. Cameras captured the moment its engines ignited. The flare lit up the sky so bright that people on the ground shielded their eyes. The cheers of millions echoed across cities. For the first time, humanity felt the power to protect its world, yet not everyone celebrated. In the deep command centers, intelligence officers stared at new readings. Strange anomalies moved closer, faster. They were not natural. Alien probes had entered the system, recording, watching, measuring. In the war room, General Harris pointed at the data. His voice was grim. "They know we are building. They are watching us. The question is not if they will attack, but when. Dr. Eliana Cross, now serving as chief advisor, looked across the table. Then we must finish faster. We must be ready before they arrive, the leaders agreed. More ships were ordered, hundreds. Every dockyard on Earth turned its gaze upward. The planet had become a single machine, beating to one purpose, survival. But survival would not be easy. Above the moon, hidden in shadows, alien eyes had already witnessed the Resolute's ignition. A signal was sent across the stars, faster than light, carrying a single message back to the Council. They are building warships. They are preparing for war. The alien council, shocked into silence, knew the path ahead was clear. To protect the balance of the galaxy, humanity would need to be crushed before it grew too strong. As the Resolute completed its first orbit, soldiers standing on its steel decks saluted the Earth below. At the same moment, alien fleets in the far distance began to shift, engines flaring. Humanity was ready to fight. The galaxy was ready to kill. The collision was now inevitable. Far away from Earth, beyond the reach of human eyes, the High Alien Council gathered. Their chamber was carved into the heart of a drifting megastructure, a black fortress orbiting a dying star. The walls pulsed faintly with energy, and the air itself trembled with the weight of their decisions. One by one, the councillors arrived, giants with glistening scales, insectoid diplomats with wings folded tight, tall grey forms whose eyes glowed like embers. These were the rulers of the galaxy, the guardians of its laws. And they had only one subject on their agenda: humanity. The Supreme Speaker, a towering figure with tendrils coiling like living blades, slammed a claw against the council table. The sound echoed like thunder. The humans have awakened. They are building warships. They are answering the signal. A dozen voices rose in panic. One barked, they must be destroyed before their fleet grows. Another shouted, strike their planet now, while their defenses are still young. But not all agreed. From the shadows, a thin figure spoke, its voice low and deliberate. We tried destruction before. It never works. Young races scatter like embers. They survive, they adapt, and they return fiercer than before. Humanity must not be underestimated. The council chamber fell silent at those words. Even the speaker hesitated. Records older than their empires spoke of the last time such a signal was answered. An ancient race, bold and unyielding, had risen from nothing and nearly torn the galaxy apart. That race had been erased, but the scars of that war never healed. Now, a new species had answered the same call, and their name was humanity. On the far side of the chamber, a massive display showed live images gathered from hidden probes near Earth. Gigantic ship frames hovered above the blue planet. Sparks of light flashed as welders sealed armor plates thicker than city walls. Alien eyes widened. Humanity was not dabbling in space travel. They were preparing for total war. Councillor Zavek, his mandibles clicking in agitation, shouted, "They are primitive! Their ships are crude, but their numbers grow too fast. If left unchecked, they will become a threat to the balance." Another softer voice replied, "Perhaps we do not need to destroy them. Perhaps we can warn them, send emissaries, offer them peace under our guidance. If they bow, we control them. If they resist..." She let the words hang in the air. The chamber grew tense. The choice before the council was no longer whether humanity was dangerous. It was whether to crush them now or chain them forever. At that same hour on Earth, Dr. Eliana Cross stood inside the control deck of the Resolute, gazing at the stars. She felt the weight of history pressing down. She knew, without seeing them, that eyes were on her world. Somewhere out there, civilizations older than Earth's entire history were debating her people's fate. Her comm buzzed. General Harris's voice came through, sharp and grim. Satellite arrays just picked up strange energy spikes near the Kuiper Belt. Could be probes. Could be ships. Either way, someone knows we're here. Eliana's chest tightened. Humanity had already crossed the line. There was no going back. Back in the council chamber, the decision neared. The Supreme Speaker's voice filled the air. "I call for judgment. Shall humanity be erased or bound to our will?" The vote split the chamber. Some slammed their claws for extermination. Others hissed for control. The shouting grew louder, words clashing like blades. For the first time in centuries, the council was divided. Finally, the speaker raised a hand. Silence fell like a shroud. Enough! We will give them one chance. An envoy will be sent to Earth. Humanity will be offered peace. They will surrender their fleets and their weapons. They will kneel before the council. If they refuse, the speaker's eyes burned with cold fire. They will face annihilation. The decision was final. The emissaries were chosen, sleek ships of black alloy, carrying the symbols of the council. They were silent daggers, swift and unstoppable, and they were already setting a course for Earth. When the news reached the chamber floor, a smaller councillor leaned close to the speaker and whispered in dread, "What if they do not bow? What if they fight?" The speaker's gaze turned toward the image of Earth. The oceans shimmered. The green lands gleamed under the sunlight, and the human warfleet glinted like teeth around their home. Then, the speaker said, they will learn why no one challenges the galaxy. Above Earth's atmosphere, civilian astronomers spotted strange shadows crossing the stars. Sleek alien envoys were arriving, faster than any human ship could follow. On their decks, alien emissaries prepared to deliver their ultimatum. Humanity had only two choices: kneel or burn. The alien envoy ships slipped into Earth's solar system without warning. They were long, sharp vessels of black metal, their hulls reflecting no light, their engines humming like thunder. From the ground, astronomers first mistook them for comets, but soon their true shape was clear. Humanity's first official visitors from the stars had arrived. The ships came to a halt above the moon, silent and terrifying. They made no move to attack. Instead, a single transmission cut across every human frequency, overriding satellites, televisions, radios, even phones. A voice echoed in every language at once. This is the High Council of the Galaxy. Humanity has awakened too soon. You will disarm. You will surrender your fleets. You will kneel or you will perish. The words chilled every listener. Across Earth, fear spread like fire. People filled the streets, staring upward. Soldiers tightened their grips on rifles. Families whispered prayers. Inside the Resolute, General Harris's fists clenched. His officers waited for orders, eyes darting nervously to the great black silhouettes near the moon. "They're testing us," Harris growled. "If we kneel now, Earth will never be free." "We fight." Dr. Eliana Cross stood beside him, her heart pounding. "They don't believe we will resist. They think we'll submit." She met Harris's gaze. "Then we show them what it means to be human." The alien emissaries received no reply from Earth. Silence stretched across space. After 3 hours, the lead envoy issued a final warning. "Refuse us, and the galaxy itself will fall upon you." Then the first strike came. Without further warning, one alien ship launched a lance of plasma toward Earth's orbiting defense satellites. The blast tore them apart in seconds, scattering molten fragments across the sky. Humanity's message was clear. They were not equals. They were prey. But Earth was ready. The Resolute's engines roared as it turned toward the moon. Hundreds of human warships followed, their hulls gleaming like blades in sunlight. Crews scrambled to stations, alarms screamed, and the void lit with human firepower. The first volley came from a railgun battery. Metal slugs shot across space at near light speed, glowing white from sheer velocity. When slammed straight into an envoy ship's hull, to the shock of the galaxy, the alien vessel cracked open like glass. Torn apart in a burst of flame, on the alien council's homeworld, watching from distant feeds, leaders rose from their seats in disbelief. Impossible. Primitive humans cannot destroy a council vessel. But the proof was before them, smoke, fire, and debris drifting in silence. On Earth, cheers erupted as the alien ship fell. For the first time, humanity had drawn blood from the stars. The aliens did not hesitate. The remaining envoy ships opened fire with terrifying precision. Beams of white energy cut through the void, slicing 3 human frigates clean in half. Screams filled comm channels as ships were lost. Yet the fleet held the line. General Harris barked orders, his voice cutting through the chaos. "Hold formation! Push them back! Make them regret setting foot in our system." The battle raged above the moon. Human missiles swarmed in waves, guided by artificial intelligence. Alien beams ripped through shields, carving holes in the fleet. The void became a storm of light and death, but humanity's greatest weapon was not their technology. It was their unpredictability. Where alien fleets fought with discipline and perfect calculation, humans struck with raw fury and reckless tactics. Ships rammed enemy hulls. Fighters dove straight into plasma fire, releasing their payloads at point-blank range. Every sacrifice bought Earth another moment of survival. Inside the council chamber across the stars, panic spread. Councillor Zarvek slammed his claws down. "They fight like mad creatures. This is not a battle. This is slaughter," another whispered. "If their fleets grow larger, they will be unstoppable." The speaker's voice was cold. "Then we send reinforcements, hundreds, no, thousands. Humanity must be broken before they rise any further." Back in orbit, the battle neared its breaking point. The Resolute fired a broadside volley, railguns and missiles striking the last envoy ship. The explosion lit the moon's surface brighter than daylight. For a moment it seemed Earth had won, then the alarms screamed. Sensors across the fleet picked up hundreds of new warp signatures. Alien reinforcements were arriving, fast, massive, overwhelming. General Harris's face hardened as the data flashed across the screen. Ships larger than mountains, fleets stretching beyond sight, closing in on Earth's system. Eliana's voice trembled. "There are too many. We cannot fight them all." Harris turned toward his officers, his eyes filled with fire. "Then we make them bleed for every inch." The final shot shows the black void filling with alien ships, their sheer numbers blotting out the stars. Humanity's fleet, battered and scarred, turns to face them. The first strike was over. The true war was about to begin. The sky above Earth turned into fire. Hundreds of alien warships surged into the solar system, their black hulls stretching across the stars. They came in formations so vast that they looked like moving continents, each one bristling with weapons older than humanity itself. From the surface of Earth, millions stared upward as streaks of light burned across the atmosphere. They were not shooting stars. They were the opening salvos of war. Inside the Resolute, alarms screamed as the fleet scrambled into position. General Harris stood firm on the command deck, eyes locked on the incoming swarm. Around him, officers rushed to their stations, voices rising above the chaos. Enemy ships breaching Mars orbit. Warp signatures multiplying. Council fleets are surrounding Earth. Harris's jaw clenched. This is it. If we fall here, Earth dies. If we stand, humanity lives. The first wave of alien fire slammed into orbit. Blending beams carved through the void, striking human ships. 2 frigates exploded instantly, their debris scattering like ash. But before the aliens could fire again, Earth's fleet answered. Railguns thundered. Missiles streaked into the dark. The human fleet moved not with perfect formation, but with brutal creativity. Destroyers darted between capital ships, releasing swarms of drones. Frigates spun into tight turns, slingshotting around Earth's gravity well. Every maneuver broke the Council's expectations. The aliens had come expecting prey. Instead, they found predators. The first human victory came fast. A squadron of fighters, barely more than metal shells strapped to engines, dove headlong into the belly of an alien battleship. They released their payload at point-blank range, tearing the vessel apart from the inside. The explosion lit up the dark like a second sun. Cheers erupted across human comms. Soldiers shouted in triumph. For the first time they felt not fear but hope came at a price. The alien fleet pressed harder. Enormous carriers released swarms of drones, thousands at a time. Human destroyers were surrounded, their shields cracking under relentless fire. One by one they burst into flames. Dr. Eliana Cross gripped the railing of the Resolute's deck, her knuckles white. She whispered to herself, "We are outnumbered 10-1. But still we fight," General Harris overheard. His voice was iron. That is what makes us human. As the battle raged, the alien council watched through live feeds in their distant chamber. The speaker leaned forward, eyes burning with disbelief. They should have broken already. Why are they still standing? Councillor Zarvek hissed. Because they are not like us. They are chaos given form. Back in orbit, chaos was exactly what humanity unleashed. Ships that were on the verge of destruction rammed into enemy cruisers, detonating their cores in fiery sacrifice. Fighters wove impossible patterns through alien fire, slipping between beams and releasing missiles in suicidal runs. Every loss cut deep. But every sacrifice dragged another alien vessel into the grave. Hours into the battle, the orbit of Earth was a graveyard. Shattered hulls drifted silently, both human and alien. Debris rained through the atmosphere, burning as falling stars across Earth's skies. Below, civilians watched the heavens turn red, their prayers whispered into the night. Then the tide began to shift. Humanity's fleet, bloodied but unbroken, found its rhythm. Coordinated strikes punched holes in the alien lines. For every human ship lost, 2 alien vessels fell. Against all reason, against all calculation, Earth's fleet was holding. On the ground, news spread like wildfire. Humanity was fighting back. Humanity was winning. For the first time, the galaxy's predators were bleeding. But just as victory seemed possible, a new alarm shrieked across every console. Contact! Massive energy spike near Saturn. Something huge is coming through. The officers froze as the data filled the screens. The incoming ships dwarfed even the largest alien battleships. Their hulls were miles long, their weapons designed not for combat with fleets, but for the destruction of entire worlds. The monster fleet had arrived. General Harris's face darkened as he stared at the readings. These were not ordinary warships. These were planet killers, the true fist of the Council. Eliana's voice shook. If they reach Earth, it's over. No fleet can stop that. Harris stood tall, his voice a steady roar across the command deck. Then we stop them here. We hold them in orbit. We fight until Earth itself is the last weapon standing. The crew saluted, their faces grim but unbroken. The final shot showed the black silhouettes of colossal alien dreadnoughts breaking through the void, blotting out Saturn's rings as they advanced. Earth's battered fleet turned to face them, engines burning, weapons primed. The battle for Earth's orbit was only the beginning. The true war was about to begin. The void beyond Saturn burned with light. One by one, the monster fleet emerged, tearing through the fabric of space. Their ships were colossal, each one a floating fortress, their hulls layered with armor that had survived 1,000 wars. They did not look like vessels. They looked like gods of destruction. On Earth's command deck, silence filled the Resolute. Officers stared at their screens, their faces pale. General Harris broke the silence. His voice was low but steady. So, they've sent the executioners, Dr. Eliana Cross whispered almost to herself. Each of those dreadnoughts is capable of erasing a planet. And there are dozens. The data feeds confirmed it. Each dreadnought carried weapons designed not for ships, but for worlds. Planet cracker cannons, gravity-lashed torpedoes, shields that bent the laws of physics. Against them, humanity's fleet looked like insects circling a storm. Still, Harris did not flinch. "Transmit to all ships," he ordered. "The monster fleet is here. If we run, Earth burns. If we fight, we may still see another dawn." The comms officer hesitated, then sent the message. Across the battered fleet, captains, soldiers, and pilots heard the words. Many were exhausted, ships scarred, and crew bloodied. Yet when the order came, there was no retreat. Humanity would not bow. The alien council watched from their chamber, their faces glowing in the light of the war feeds. The speaker of the council leaned forward. "Now it ends. The humans will be dust, and the lesson will echo for all time." But Councillor Zarvek shook his head slowly. His reptilian eyes narrowed. "Do not underestimate them. They fight like no species we have seen. Already they have cost us more than we imagined," the speaker hissed. "And yet they will break. No world can resist the monster fleet." Back in orbit, the first dreadnought opened fire. The void split in half. A beam wider than a city tore forward, striking 3 human destroyers at once. They disintegrated instantly, their remains scattering into the dark. The shockwave slammed into nearby frigates, rattling them to the core, but the humans did not scatter. Instead, they charged. Like hornets against a giant, the fleet surged toward the colossal ships. Railguns pounded, missiles streaked, drones swarmed. Against the dreadnoughts' shields, the attacks seemed to vanish like raindrops against a mountain. Yet every strike forced the Titans to respond, slowing their advance toward Earth. General Harris's voice roared across the fleet comms. "Bleed them. Every second we hold them here, Earth breathes, and bleed them they did." In one daring maneuver, a squadron of human bombers dove beneath a dreadnought's belly, past its armor, and into a weak seam near its thrusters. They detonated their payload at point-blank range. The explosion rocked the beast, flames erupting across its hull. It did not fall, but the galaxy had just seen the unthinkable, a human strike drawing blood from a god. Cheers rose across the fleet, but they were cut short. The dreadnought retaliated. With a single strike, it erased the squadron that had dared to wound it. In seconds, dozens of pilots vanished into silence. Dr. Eliana's hands shook on the railing. "We can't win this with ships alone. We need something more." Her words echoed through Harris's mind, but he did not answer. His eyes stayed locked on the battle, his will unshaken. Below, on Earth, civilians huddled in bunkers and cities. They watched the skies light up with fire. Children pressed their faces to windows as streaks of destruction blazed across the heavens. To them, it was as if the gods themselves were fighting above their world. The alien council, watching every second, began to murmur among themselves. Some saw humanity's resistance as madness. Others saw it as proof of something dangerous. The longer the humans stood, the more the galaxy began to question the Council's power. "Speaker," Zarvek growled, "you do not see it. If they survive this, their legend will spread. Other species will follow." The speaker snapped, "They will not survive." But then the impossible happened. A second dreadnought faltered. Its shields flickered, buckling under the combined strikes of 5 human cruisers. One cruiser rammed head-on into the Titan's flank, detonating its reactor in a suicidal blaze. The dreadnought lurched, wounded, smoke and fire spilling into the void. Humanity had done it again. They had wounded another god. General Harris's voice thundered. "This is our chance. Push them back!" The fleet surged with new fury. Fighters, bombers, drones, every weapon left in the arsenal was hurled at the dreadnought line. Humanity fought like fire itself, burning bright even as it consumed its own fuel. And for a moment, a single, fragile moment, it looked like Earth might survive. But then the warning sirens shrieked again. A massive power surge lit up every scanner. From the center of the monster fleet, one dreadnought began to charge its primary weapon. Unlike the others, this was not a planetary beam. This was something else, something new. Dr. Eliana's voice broke into a whisper. "That's not a planet cracker, it's aimed at Earth's core." The deck fell silent. If that weapon fired, Earth itself would shatter. General Harris stared at the readings. His face was carved from stone. "All ships, target that dreadnought. Whatever it takes, it must not fire." The episode ended with the dreadnought's weapon core glowing brighter, the energy building to impossible levels. The human fleet, torn and bloodied, hurled itself toward the Titan. The screen cut to black as the countdown to fire reached its final seconds. The dreadnought's weapon core glowed brighter with every passing second. From the heart of the monster fleet, its massive cannon locked onto Earth itself. Unlike the planet killers designed to shatter continents, this one was different. It was aimed deep into the planet's molten heart. If it fired, Earth would split apart from the inside out. On the Resolute, alarms screamed as calculations filled the displays. Dr. Eliana Cross's voice cracked. "If that weapon discharges, Earth won't just burn. It will explode." General Harris stood tall, his expression stone. "Then we stop it. All ships converge on that dreadnought. Whatever it takes, it must not fire." Across the human fleet, battered survivors answered. Damaged frigates, half-crippled destroyers, even civilian freighters armed with improvised cannons turned toward the Titan. Engines flared. Humanity threw everything it had left into one desperate strike. The alien council chamber erupted with noise as the images streamed in. The speaker's voice dripped with certainty. They rushed to their death. Brave but pointless, Councillor Zarvek leaned forward, his cold eyes fixed on the humans. No, not pointless, dangerous. They have no fear of death, and that makes them something we cannot control. The first wave hit. Human bombers dove at the dreadnoughts' shields, releasing their payloads at point-blank range. Explosions rippled across the surface, forcing the Titan to divert energy to reinforce its barriers. For a moment, the charge of its cannon flickered, shields cracking. An officer shouted aboard the Resolute. Harris slammed his fist against the railing. "Push harder!" Don't give them a second to recover. Cruisers swarmed next, railguns hammering, drones tearing into weak points. The dreadnought staggered, its colossal bulk shaking under the sheer fury of humanity's assault. But the price was unbearable. For every successful strike, a human ship was obliterated. Entire squadrons vanished in bursts of light. Pilots screamed their final words into comms before fire consumed them. Yet still, the assault did not falter. On Earth's surface, billions watched as the sky above turned into a battlefield of fire. Civilians huddled in bunkers, praying. Children clutched their parents, asking if the lights in the sky meant angels were coming. To many, it did look like angels, but angels made of steel and sacrifice. The alien council grew restless. For the first time, doubt clouded the chamber. "How are they still standing?" one councillor hissed. "They should be broken," another muttered. Zarvek's voice cut through the noise. "They fight as if death itself is their weapon, and perhaps it is." Then the moment came. The dreadnought's shields buckled. A gap tore open across its massive hull. Fires raged inside. For the first time, one of the monster fleet's titans was vulnerable. General Harris's voice boomed across every human channel. "This is it. Hit them with everything you've got." The fleet surged. Ships that could barely hold together charged directly into the breach. One frigate, its hull torn open, plunged headlong into the dreadnought, detonating its reactor in a blinding flare. The explosion ripped a wound deep into the Titan's belly. Eliana gripped the console, her eyes wide with both terror and awe. "They're tearing it apart!" The dreadnought lurched, its weapon core sputtering. The glow dimmed. For a heartbeat, hope returned. Earth might survive, but the monster fleet was not finished. Another dreadnought moved forward, taking position beside the wounded Titan. Its cannon began to charge, this one faster, stronger, aimed straight at Earth's crust. Humanity had bought seconds, but not victory. On the bridge of the Resolute, Harris's voice dropped to a grim whisper. "If we fail now, Earth ends." Dr. Eliana turned toward him, her eyes fierce. "Then we don't fail. We strike not just with ships, but with Earth itself," Harris frowned. "Explain." She pointed to the data feeds. "If we overload the orbital defense satellites, collapse their reactors, and direct the blast through the debris field, it could chain into a gravitational shock, enough to destabilize their fleet formation. It won't destroy them all, but it could cripple the one charging its weapon." The deck went silent. Everyone knew what that meant. Overloading the satellites would cause a catastrophic chain reaction. Thousands of human lives would be lost in the crossfire. Harris's face hardened. "If it saves Earth, we do it," he gave the order. Across orbit, satellites once built to defend Earth's skies came alive. Their cores overloaded, their reactors burning brighter than ever before. One by one they began to detonate. The void erupted in fire. Shockwaves slammed into the dreadnought line. The Titan, charging its cannons, staggered as the gravitational pulse tore through its shields. Its weapon core flickered. The countdown to fire stalled. For a moment, it seemed the desperate plan had worked. Humanity had pulled off the impossible again. But then the readings changed. Eliana's face drained of color. "No." The pulse destabilized their weapon. "It's overloading." The screens showed it clearly. The dreadnought's cannon, unstable and uncontrolled, now threatened to unleash its energy not at Earth, but at the entire battlefield. The blast would consume both fleets, human and alien alike. General Harris stared into the chaos, his voice steady even as death loomed. All ships, brace for impact. The episode closed with the dreadnought's core burning like a new sun, the energy swelling beyond control. Earth hung in the background, fragile and small, as the weapon prepared to explode with power enough to end everything in orbit. The dreadnought's core flared like a newborn sun. Energy rippled outward, unstable and uncontrollable, threatening to consume everything in its path. Human ships, alien ships, Earth itself. On the command deck of the Resolute, alarms screamed so loudly they seemed to merge into one endless wail. The screens filled with warnings. Dr. Eliana Cross gripped the console, her voice breaking. "The core is overloading. When it goes, it will tear this orbit apart." General Harris's eyes were locked on the chaos. His voice was calm, steady, unshaken. "Then we use it. Turn their weapon against them." The officers turned to him in disbelief. Eliana's mouth opened, but Harris spoke before she could argue. "If we direct that explosion, we can burn their fleet. Earth may survive the blast, but it will cost us everything." The bridge fell silent. Everyone knew what everything meant. Most of the human fleet wouldn't make it back. Still, no one objected. Across the fleet, Harris's voice echoed through the comms, carried to every captain and pilot. "We stand at the edge of extinction. But hear me now. Today will not be remembered as the day humanity died. Today will be remembered as the day we proved what it means to be human. Fight with me, bleed with me, and if we fall, let the galaxy never forget us." His words cut through fear like steel. On every ship, tired soldiers straightened. Pilots, bloodied and broken, tightened their grips. Humanity's spirit burned brighter than the stars. The order went out. The fleet shifted into position, surrounding the overloading dreadnought, using their own ships as guiding blades to bend the explosion where they wanted it. The alien council watched, their chamber filled with unease. The speaker sneered. "They are insane. They will kill themselves." But Zavek leaned forward, his voice a whisper. "No, they will kill us." The dreadnought's weapon screamed. Light erupted from its core, a storm of energy tearing free. But instead of scattering wild, it was bent, directed by the collapsing wreckage of human ships and the chain of detonating satellites. The blast became a tidal wave of fire. It slammed into the monster fleet. One by one, the colossal dreadnoughts shuddered, their shields collapsing, their hulls ripping apart. Titans that had ruled the galaxy for centuries broke apart like glass. The shockwave tore through the Council's armada. Cruisers split in half. Carriers burned. The disciplined formations dissolved into chaos and ruin. From Earth's surface, the night sky turned white. Billions watched as fire consumed the heavens, wondering if this was the end or the beginning. On the Resolute, the crew braced as the wave struck. Hull plates buckled. Consoles exploded. Officers were thrown from their stations. Half the ship was on fire, but still it clung to life. Eliana staggered to her feet, coughing smoke. Did it work? Through the flames, Harris stared at the viewport. Where once stood the mightiest fleet in the galaxy, there was only wreckage. Giants had fallen, monsters had died. Humanity still stood, but the cost was unbearable. The human fleet was shattered. Only a handful of ships remained intact. Thousands of brave men and women had given their lives to bend the explosion. The orbital sky was now a graveyard of burning wrecks. The alien council chamber erupted with chaos. Some shouted in rage, others in terror. The speaker slammed his fists against the table. "Impossible! They are nothing. They are insects." Zarvek's voice silenced them all. His cold gaze swept the chamber. Insects do not kill gods. For the first time in thousands of years, the council felt fear. Back in orbit, Harris gave his final order. "Signal Earth, tell them. We held the line." His voice cracked for the first time. "Tell them we are free." Dr. Eliana wiped tears from her face as she sent the transmission. On Earth, the message spread like wildfire. Across cities and villages, bunkers and shelters, people wept and cheered. They looked to the skies, not with fear but with pride. Humanity had faced the galaxy, and the galaxy had bled, but even in victory, questions lingered. If humanity could destroy the monster fleet, what else might they do? What other powers, long feared and unquestioned, might fall before them? The galaxy was watching. Species long oppressed by the Council whispered to each other, if humans could stand, why not them? Humanity had not just survived. They had lit a fire that could spread across every star. On the command deck of the battered Resolute, General Harris finally sat down, exhaustion weighing on his shoulders. His eyes closed for a moment. We answered the call, he murmured. Now the galaxy will regret it. The camera pulled back from Earth, past its shattered orbit, past the drifting hulks of alien titans. In the distance, silent and waiting, other fleets watched. They had not joined the battle. They had only observed. Now with the Council's fist broken, they stirred. The galaxy was about to change forever.